firstly, thank you everyone taking the time and not watching the football, especially England playing today. I was wondering how can I make the sessions more exciting so you don't feel like you're losing out. I think from what Hajara did is actually impact the whole nation. Compare what they did, probably only impact to the home office because probably we pay more tax, right? So, and then she's very pretty much focused on non-profit organization, and I'm probably mainly focused on profit making organization, business driven. So what I did was probably working for me. I want to just give it the heads up first. Probably not going to be working for everyone here, but I'd like you to understand how I make the position that I'm in today. Just take a bit of my journey. Um, so on the top left corner, so that's the place that I was born. So I'm originally from China. It's a place called Anshan. It's a place actually very famous for jade, because I know that China famous with China and jade, and the city actually underrated because it has the biggest jade Buddha in my city. But I don't think the government actually know the value of it, so they never did no like promotion at all. So I'm trying to promote here. If you ever get a chance to visit China, do visit my city. It looks quite nice actually. So that's my city there. I'm also really into foodie. Like I love food. I love seafood. I'm talking to my friend. I said I want to retire in Spain because it's close to seafront, and then it's got all the seafood. So love seafood. Love hiking. Been to this is a view of Ben Nevis. So again, we talk about like a life-work balance, right? So it's about balance. It's not about work, making money, making money. At the same time, you got to enjoy yourself. For me, food and traveling probably my main thing for me. So my career, right, how I started. So I moved to UK in 2000. So I did A levels in the UK. So when I apply for jobs, I love traveling. So I said to my parents, right, I said, well, can I study tourism? Then I can visit all the places. And then my parents, being the Asian, right? So I don't know, some of you here like from the Asia background, the family, the mom or dad from the Asian will be like, hey, you can't do tourism. You can't make money from tourism. You got to be the lawyer. You got to be a doctor. You got to be accountant. You got to be engineer, right? So there's a full categories of profession you can work in, but definitely not tourism, right? So tourism is not one of those. And then mom said, why don't you do accounting finance, right? So then that means you can get any job in the whole world because every company need accountant. And I said, right, okay, because I'm a good kid, right? So I'm not gonna go. I have to obey my family's decision. I go with my mom's suggestion. So did accounting finance in Leicester. Then I thought, oh, finally I get the job done, I get the work done. Then my study is finished. And then when I start my first job, they goes, oh, do you want to do ACCA or CIMA? And then say, oh God, study never finished. So we carry on with more study. So where we started, so this is actually my first permanent graduate trainee job. So before this job, right, don't get surprised. I actually work at another 6 companies, so all temporaries, right? So I think I probably have one of the many jobs in my CV that I haven't listed. I worked for Sainsbury's before, being a stock controller. That's when I do my A levels, right? I already worked in a stock controller, price controller, and I worked for British gas business as an account manager, working in the evening from 5 to 9. So that's when I was at uni. And then I worked for Powergen, Eon, and then done O'Neill Homes and being an account assistant. Next, account payable clerk, Leicester University, account reconciliation, Byway Homes, and this is all before I start my first permanent job. So I did about a year of all those small jobs. Those are basic in terms of accounting job is account payable, but that give you a little bit background about all different areas in finance, in accounts, of what can you do. And then we got this opportunity came up. So and And then I got this recruitment agency contact me saying, would you be interested in this role? I said, yeah, I will be. I got on the job, and then it's actually in Worthing. It's on the coast. That's what I can say. It's on the coast. It's not a place for youngsters. But for me, it's a first graduate job, and then they actually offer a sponsorship for me to become a qualified accountant. And I think that's a pretty good offer. So took the role, and then I sort of get into the a real world in terms of accounting. And then during the time I was there, I wasn't only there for 2.5 years, and then I work for 5 subsidiaries, doing a lot of consolidation, get the P&Ls done, and then doing the transfer pricing. And that's the company we're doing SAP's implementation. I actually, went to Finland to do a bit of training, for the colleagues in Finland, and that's my first sort of travel. I was so excited. Oh God, I'm gonna go to Finland. I'm gonna visit Santa Claus, and in my head I was just, I have this picture. I'm gonna do all of these things, and when I got there, it's like hotel and office. I was literally hotel and office, 2 point every single day, 3 days, and on the fourth day, yeah, back to UK again. And then from then on, I said, "Oh, this is not what I want." I said, your early 20s, right? You said, "Oh, I'm gonna go overseas. I'm gonna go to Finland." You're so excited, and the next thing you know, is a completely different from what you expected. You don't really have a time in your free time. You just work, work, work. Again, it's a good experience. And then I decided again. So mom said, "Oh, you need to do a master degrees." I said, "But why?" "Because your cousin did a master degrees. Your cousin did an MBA, so you need to do that as well." I was like, "But mom, it's why? Why you spend money on doing a master degree?" But anyway, I said, "Okay, fine, I will do it." Then I finished. Then I sort of finished about 2.5 years and Bowers Wilkins, and did my masters in finance and equity in the University of Wales. So it's about a year and a year and a half master degrees. So when I finished degrees, and I went to Bard, so it's called CR Bard. It's also US public listed company, because I have a bit of gap on my CV. And then, a lot of companies, they have to be very conservative. When they're taking permanent employees, it's not just now. So back then, they were still very conscious about, what sort of people they're taking on board as a permanent employee. So I started as an intern. So I was in there intern for around about 8 months. And my line manager, he was really happy about the work that I've done. And then I was mainly looking at the inventory, doing a lot of ABC costing, manage all the inventories that's in Belgium. So Belgium, they have a massive distribution center, and then we sort of the central hub for all these EMEA's business. So we have lots of subsidiaries, and then all this inventory, because it actually is a medical device company. So all the inventories, all the products actually get made in the US, and then they send it to like European hub, and then we will sort of sell it to all the subsidiaries across the world, and so including anywhere apart from US. And then we actually manage it in terms of the pricing, set up the pricing and costing, cost roll, and inventory management, and then FX, because we were actually using a local currency rather than a US dollar or GBP when we send it to subsidiaries. So the subsidiary doesn't have an FX exposure. So all the FX is managed at the central hub, which is quite interesting because you got to work with the US team to do a bit of hedging, which is another piece of work to understand, how we're hedging the FX changes. It's quite interesting, but at the same time, US being the US, because they like to take in control of everything. And they like to make a decision on everything, even though it's a wrong decision. But they like to take a decision because they're the head office, right? And then sometimes you can give a suggestion. The ultimate decision is still made by them, which is fine. And I think I was there for about less than 2 years, and then I and over there, when I was there, I sort of finished my all the CMAS qualification, and I have more than 3 years experience. Then I become a fully qualified chartered accountant. and I was looking to the next step. And then it became very frustrating in terms of a career path for me working there, because everything was stationary, stagnation. There's nowhere for me to progress. So I took a decision, just resign the job, and without actually finding another job. Obviously, not telling my parents about that, because it was so risky of not securing another job and then just quitting the job. But for me, I just thought, you know what, I think when you're young, right, you're so brave, you want to take the risk, right? You think you're so good. Oh, you'll be all right. Don't worry about this. Yeah, I'm gonna take the risk. Everything was so it's not a big deal. And that was me. And I was like, yeah, it's okay. Because I think I was on 3 months notice period. It's quite long. And I thought, I don't think anyone will wait for me for 3 months, because everyone want a quick turnover. They're probably gonna wait you for a month maximum. And the business won't let me go like less than 3 months. So I resigned it without finding another job. And then when the time come close, and then I still can't find another job. And then we got this headcount that contact me saying, would you be open for contractors? I said, okay, that's interesting. I never thought about that. And the lady saying, well, because it's a lot of companies doesn't want to take the risk of having a permanent headcount, because of budget control. But they have like a special project, things like maternity cover, little project for the short project to do, and then they only have budget for that period of time, and it's a good way for you to gain experience. So that's when I have this door open in terms of this other career path for me to do, rather than just stick with the corporate ladder. And then I have this opportunity, and I think it's a perfect opportunity for me to actually start my first contract role at Kimberly-Clark. So Kimberly-Clark is the I don't know, like Huggies or Kleenex. They're all made from they're all made by Casey, and then they have their sort of European head office in Reigate, which is not far from sort of Crawley. I used to live in Harrow, Brighton, but I used to drive to the KC headquarters in Reigate. So the job I was there, I wasn't in finance team. I was in the supply chain team, and then that's the time then I was a part of the cost transformation team, and then we have a new target of cost saving 100 million. It's massive number, right? It looks like when I first jumped on board, the reason why we have this opportunity came up is because one of the lady doing the job, she's getting married, and then she wants to have a honeymoon at the same time. So she wants to take a 1 year sabbatical holiday for a whole year, and that's why then I have this opportunity for me to take the role. So when I started the role, and I didn't quite to understand that, okay, how can I actually support each of the functions, and then that really helped me to build a bit more confidence in terms of talking through all different chain of the value chain. So it's basically you working on the supply chain. It's like end-to-end value chain. So you work with the R&D department in the US, or you're also working with the aftermarket in the UK and in Europe. So that's to close a whole loop in terms of the value chain. And then you're trying to working with them to understand, is everything on target, on track? So every day, or pretty much every week, I was on the phone with the different functions across the business in different regions. And I think three things that actually for me to gain when I was there is cost transformation. We call it, how can you make the cost transform into a cost saving a target for the business, and also collaboration. So working with a different cross-functional team, working with them, because you're sort of exposed different experience, different cultures, because people from Europe, people from Middle East, and people from US, they will have a very different background, and how you actually communicate them, to get what you want. Because sometimes you have an off target, and because every quarter we have a target to achieve. When it's off target, how you actually get them back on track. So collaboration, working with everyone here, and then we have the 1 million, cost saving target set up. It's when you have this vision in your head to how we can achieve this, and also you have to motivate all your CEOs across all the regions. I remember because the target we set is 100 million, but the let me just get the light on because it's just I think it's too quiet since it came off. So we give a bonus of all these general manager for every region is 200% bonus scheme. It's very, I think it's really appealing to everyone. It's a 200%, right? And so that's why everyone, so you have to get people motivated. At the end of the day, so everyone is here for, one priority, do I like the job? And the second, it's a financial reward. And then, people need to get recognized for doing a good job. And I do think Casey does realize that. And that's why I think it value as a good company. And they wouldn't mind to give a 10% of the saving to recognize the people actually making that result happen. So I was there for about a year, and then I moved to EDF Energy. Again, it's energy factor. The reason why, because they actually changed whole board, and then they had a lot of different changes in terms of B2Cs and B2Bs and customers. And then because when they change the board, and then the headcounts have raised again. So no one allowed to hire any permanent employees. So there's opportunity for contractors. I was very, it was quite interesting because when I joined the role, and then I have to go to a like a computer-based interview, and I was very surprised that after many years experience, why do you have to go to a computer-based interview? So when I got off the road and I asked my colleague, I said, why is that? And they go, so actually previously we had the people, they do the talk at the interview very well, and then when they get assigned the job, they can't actually do the job. They don't know how to use Excel spreadsheet. I cannot actually do a financial analysis job. After a week, that person just get sacked by the company because you can't actually do the job. And I was like, wow, how interesting. I said, okay. I said, I didn't know people don't exist, but it's people are different. So one thing for me is that you really got to learn that by your heart, like a step by step. There's no shortcut. If you just do the talk, you can't do the work. You're gonna find out. To me, I think that's a fraud. You not actually can't do the job. You can't just throw into the job. You're gonna find out. You're gonna exposed. I don't think it's a good way to in professional career, but people does that. I would not recommend. I was there for a year. Did a couple of things, and I think, okay, so I've got my energy sort of industry experience, tick the box. Then I've got another opportunity came up working for Acidity. They are part of 3M now. The reason why is because, again, it's because company is going through transition, because it's a change of acquisition, going through mergers acquisition, and then I think during the time I was there for a year, and we actually implement a zero budgeting process. I don't think it's actually happened a lot in a lot of business. It actually what that is a lot of business. We do, you base on the budget. You produce the budget based on the last 5 years history result, and then combine with the future forecast, and you do a budget for the next year. Well, when I was there, the zero budgeting is pretty much like everything start with zero. And you need to actually tell the business what do you need to spend and what's the evidence, what you're going to get in return. Again, it's a whole new experience for me. And then at the same time, I developed a whole new KPI dashboard, which has got no narratives, and everything is picture based. Graph, pie chart, heat map, rack system, everything is very picture driven. Good experience. Then I moved to Accra, which is the company that I'm currently working. I was there for consultancy for around about 6 months, mainly leading on margin enhancement. Because when I was there and I realized the BOM is really, so bill of materials, the BOM is really high. Then I talked to the CFO back then, and I said, okay, I think we probably need to work on something, on the margin, because the material seems really high. And then I was sort of assigned to working with the margin enhancement team, to working on different projects. Long story short, and I think there's because the company is going through a lot changes, and then I didn't feel it was the right time for me. So then I approached by another headhunter, L3 Harris. So they are based in Crawley. So they actually assimilate, they actually manufacture simulator and the train and the pilot. It's aerospace based, so it's quite interesting. So I basically looking after all the training center across the globe. So we have a training center in Northampton, training center in Thailand, training center in the US. So during the time I was there, I think I was so lucky that I got to travel to Thailand every 2 months. So I was there for a year, and that was a time that I thought, oh, this is a kind of. At first, I thought, oh, I need to go to Thailand. I don't think it's going to be fun. I'm going to be work all the time. It's not going to be that great because I've done that before. It's going to be the same thing, you know. I wasn't too keen, but this is a bit different now. And then this time is actually I have to go there for 2 months. Then I have the weekend for myself and the evening, and I got my colleague to take me out. So I was there for less than a year, and I went to Thailand 3 times during the time I was there. So every single time when I visit Thailand, you know, I normally set myself a target by looking at, you know, what's the existing process or existing procedure that is not actually working for Thailand Training Center, and then I at least feel like objectives. I normally do 3 objectives that I think I can achieve within 2 weeks' time. I don't think I can set up more than 3 because I won't be achieved. I don't think if I can't achieve the target, there's no point to set target that I can't achieve. It's better to be you know, realistic, and then I can work with the people locally to get that job done. So the first time I went and worked there, and then I tried to get a understanding about the current existing process, understanding their bottleneck, what the challenges that they have, because they normally report everything 1 month late of the actual data, and then they have all the right reasons. I think you know, they always come up with some valid reasons, but I think without being there yourself, you wouldn't understand that, you know, what's the main reason behind it. Again, it's a good way for me to understand that, and then I'll try to work with the team to understand, you know, what their real struggle, and then make some changes into the process so they be able to report based on the according to the US guidance and guidelines, so we can close the month-end close within 5 days working time, so we'll be able to report actual data. That was the first time when I got there. The second time, the system they use is Sage 50, which is really old, and that's why it doesn't it causes delays in terms of reporting and accuracy. So I did a business case with the team to get them into a SAP system, which is a group ERP system. And this is time that we actually, so we have a people in Thailand. It's me, you know, representing from Europe, and then we also have a people from the SAP sub team from the US. So I flew from UK, and we've got 2 colleagues from US, and, you know, they flew into Thailand. So we have us and our Thailand team to working through the SAP integration. I think it's quite good project that we did, and then it has to. There's a lot of loss in translation. There's a lot of work needs to be done at time differences, because we still have to work with the US time, and because it's 12-hour differences, we have to start at 7 o'clock, or sometimes, you know, we start 7 p.m. in the evening, so we'll be able to get everyone an hour and then start working with that. And I think the result was great. It's a bit hard work, but I think the result is great because everyone trying to understand each other. We managed to get the basic. I don't think we can go to a complex modules yet, because to start off with SAP, you have to build the foundation first, to get the foundation correctly first, to be able to build the next model. So we managed to get SAP sort of integrate into a Thailand team, and that's why US have a more visibility about all the subsidiaries. Before I joined the business, Thailand is the only subsidiaries that US doesn't have a visibility, and it is so struggle about why Thailand doesn't have a SAP, and then it's all, we don't understand why. I think that's the reason why you know, I got sent to the US to Thailand to help them out, and for the US to invest in SAP, you need to do a business case, All right. So every time when you ask for corporate to invest in anything, you have to do a business case and you have to justify what's the return ROI. It's always ROI. Don't forget this because they are very money-driven business. Every time they ask, "What's the ROI? What return can you provide?" And that's why when you do a business case, you have to base on that. It's unfortunately that's the case. You can't say it helped to improve efficiency. They'd be like, "Okay, what's efficiency rate? What that's going to convert into dollars?" And then you have to do the analysis to be able to back it up. And so that's the business case I did. During the time, I was so lucky because when I finished working the daytime in the in Thailand, I also spent the evening working with the UK team. So my boss was a group CFO. He really recognized my efforts because I'm a contractor, right? So remember, so you contract is really good on day rate, but at the same time you don't have holidays, right? Remember that you don't have holidays. If you don't work, you don't get paid. But because you have to give, right? For me, I didn't expect that, but my manager said, you know what? Why don't you take 10 days of holiday? Why still pay you for the 10 days? Because you work so many hours to get to a position we are in today. I was really shocked. Really? I said, you're gonna pay me 10 days? That I'm not even in the office. He goes, yeah, why not? Just go. So me and my friend we went to Cuba for 10 days holiday. Well, I can chill on the beach and I'm still getting paid. It was the best feeling, right? Because normally you just work for the whole year and then take another month of holiday without getting paid. But that for me is like you have to give first to be able to receive something. Do not expect everything is given. Nothing is given. I think you have to get it. You have to earn it to get it, and then you deserve that, and then recognized by your line manager. And then I moved to Food Solution Group, and then I was looking up to 5 functions: IT, HR, finance, ERP, supply chain, manufacturing, so anything but sales. I don't do sales, but anything but sales. It's a small business, and we also have 3 subsidiaries. One is in Midland and London, and in Crawley. So with the food industry, there's one thing you can't get away is a food wastage. And I remember when I joined the business, they don't do stock take on food, and then they have no clue about there was no GL code of wastage because they think everything can be used, which is not true. I have to tell you that. And then I said, why we don't do that? They go, oh, because it's not a thing for us. I don't know. To me, I was shocking. And then I said, okay, fine, let's get this process going. So I think we did a lot of work there, and then I tried to implement just culture. So just culture is something that is a reporting system that any problem that you find out, you report straight away, and then you get the corrective action in place to be able to form to a better behavior going forward. And it's a mindset change. It's very hard nowadays to get any company to work on just culture. But if we start somewhere, you'll be able to get in a place. If you never start, you never get to a place. And that's when my contract journey finishes. And then COVID happened. Then the opportunity came up, and I worked for High Vision during the COVID time. Again, it's a Chinese public listed company. I worked there for 2.5 years, looking 5 subsidiaries across global. And then during the time I was there, and it was the highest profit year during the time I was there, and I'm working across 5 different CEOs. So a good project for me to do. And then came to the current role, which is aircraft seating. Sounds fancy, right? Aircraft seating, everything relates to aerospace, and people think it's very high end. It's not really. Yeah, it's just seats. It's just a more complex seat, I think. Challenges. When I first joined the business, loss making for 5-6 years. Didn't expect. I think when I first came in, I thought I'd just help him with finance, and then there's a lot of things happening when I first started, and so basically I helped the company to restart everything, reset everything, restructure whole management team, realign company strategy, reallocate people through everything. And so after I've been here a year, so managed to a loss-making business into a profit business. So the company is actually into a profit right now from last year. And then that's where my role changed. So I started finance, and then I'm now sort of looking at the operations side. So I'm more towards to operations rather than finance, but still can't take eye off the finance because if you take the eye off the finance, things can go wrong very easily. So during this time, I think what I said it was during this journey. When I first started my career, I think everyone knows like SpongeBob, right? So I think you have to be like a sponge, just like learn everything, learn as much as you can, learn as much as you can, ask questions, ask more questions just to get more understanding over the journey. I do a lot of self reflection. So I want to know what can I do differently to make the job better? What can I do differently to make my job more efficient? So I do a lot of self reflection to make me more professional, make me improve, make me to be a better person, make me to be the next professional contractor or consultant. And then over the time, you have to be very resilient because the world is not like the world that you want to be. People surrounding you, you do not expect you. I'm not people pleaser, right? Do not expect everyone likes you. And you're gonna get a lot of pushbacks, but at the same time, you have to be resilient with all these problems or challenges that you have. Well into the position. I mean, today is a lot around about people management. You don't actually do the work yourself, but you need to have a good people to be able to do the work. If you manage a good people, and I think they always say if you take care of the people will take care of the business. And I think that's very true. But you need to get the right people first to be able to make sure they can deliver the result that you want. So I think that will be my take on this. I hope you enjoyed the session, and that's sort of my career so up to date. Yes.